Alright, so I'm here today and I've been playing around more with Kasm. And overall, as I mentioned before, I really like the ability that it's going to give me to work in even more of a remote system. I actually spent some time the other night working from my iPad with a keyboard and mouse attached to it, Bluetooth, but still working from my iPad actually through a cell phone connection in a remote location. So my server is also connected to a Cloudflare tunnel so that I can do this, but it's definitely much more convenient for me in the way I work to be able to be that remote and still have the power of my server. Now I'm very anxious to get home to my R710 and maybe try some IMMO graphics card pass-throughs, or even maybe set this up on bare metal and dedicate a system for it. I don't know if that's going to be the exact right path for me, but I'm definitely anxious to try it. So with that, I wanted to today, we installed an instance, or I installed an instance of Chasm that's the wrong version. And I want to update that so I can keep working on building a custom Chasm image. And that'll be a different video that's coming to you at another point. But with that, let's jump over to my desktop and look, and you can see here at my Chasm login screen for this particular server, which this isn't the server that we installed in the previous video, it's another one, that we're actually on version 1.12.0. And as we know from the previous version, and also this giant message up here, we have version 1.13 out. And this just changes a few things and makes a few things work a little bit better, to the point that we want to make sure we update this server. Also, it's connected to the internet. Well, not this particular one, but a lot of times you're going to want to connect your Chasm server to the internet so you can do things like I'm doing with iPad. After all, that's the real advantage of Chasm. And you're going to want to make sure you have the latest version for all the security related reasons out there, as well as usability, of course. So let's take a look, and we're going to do this through an SSH session because it's just easier to copy and paste commands. And as always, the commands will either be below in the comments section or in a blog post. And I think these are probably going to go in the comments section, as it's most likely not worth writing a blog post for them. So we have a terminal, and of course it's my custom VE video terminal that's nice and big so you guys can see it. And the first thing we're going to want to do is establish an SSH connection. But in order to do that, we're going to have to find the IP address. Luckily, I installed QEMU guest agent when we set up this VM, and you can see the IP address right here from my Proxmox web interface at 192.168.6.14. So here we're just going to type SSH, our username, which is VE. It's going to be at 192.168.6.14. We enter our system password, and we're presented with our login. Now, I've told you this many times. The first thing I do is run a sudo apt update, and you notice I'm actually not chaining it together like I normally would, and that's because I've run this many times. It's not a first install, and I just want to make sure everything is up to date and see if I need packages. Now you can see I actually need 14 packages, so I am going to go ahead and run this upgrade. All right, so everything is updated and my upgrades are done. That's my general system maintenance. And now it's time to go ahead and actually update this server to version 1.13. And I do stress this was a demo server that was set up more just for learning prior to the previous video, and it's not something that will exist long term, but I am doing testing here on building images, and I need to have version 1.13. So I thought it would be a good idea to make a video for you guys about doing that. So the first thing we're going to do is cd over to the temp folder, and then we're going to use Carl, just like we did prior, to download the new image. Now, if I type ls, you can see that there are some things left over, or things that are here in this temp folder. So we're going to go ahead and add Carl, and here's our download process. Now when I do cd, you can see the new Chasm release 1.3 tar.gz file that came in, and we're going to want to decompress that file. So we're going to do that with this command right here, tar space dot dash xf space Chasm release 113.0 002.947.tar.gz, and I'm going to run that by just hitting enter and run an ls, and you can see that we created a Kasm release folder. So this time, instead of running the command that we did last time, which did a full install, sudo bash Kasm release / install sh, we're actually going to run a different command. And this command's going to tell Kasm, or run the Kasm script for doing an upgrade. But we're also going to have to pass in the port, because for some reason, part of the upgrade, the port will change. So we're going to need to pass in port 443. So the command we're going to run this time is sudo bash Kasm release / upgrade.sh --plaxi port 443, which, as you know, we use HTTPS at this point. So we're already using 443 because we're not entering a port at the end of it like we would Proxmox when we type :8006. All right, so let's run this command and see what happens. All right, so it looks like we have now indeed upgraded to 1.13. So I guess the first thing I want to do is head over to my Kasm environment and let's refresh it. And we can see that we indeed stayed logged in through that process, and that's really nice. And you can see that I'm actually updated to 1.13. So that means that we're now at the newest version of the Kasm environment, I guess you would call it, and we're able to use Kasm just as we did before. So it's looking like we may be doing some stuff in the background and may not have full availability of resources at the moment. Let's just wait a second and see if we can. Not quite yet. So this is quite common when I start up this server, and here you go, we are loading. It's just part of, I guess, the way Kasm works and my lack of resources, not having a big enough system. But here's Kasm, all updated from version 1.12 to version 1.13. I do want to note that it won't appear that way in this video because I'll fast forward it as I respect your guys' time that are watching this video, but that upgrade took about 10 minutes, just to let you know. Obviously, it'll probably be a little bit better if you have a more powerful system. I do not. This is running on an old laptop on top of Proxmox, and it's running 2 cores and I think 4 gigs of RAM. But as always, have a good night. I hope you enjoyed and now know how to upgrade Kasm, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!